This is Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Schaefer. Jennifer!
Richard, happy anniversary!
Happy anniversary to us.
Happy anniversary to us. I listened to you on Thanksgiving in 2014 and had to know you.
Well, and here we are. You asked me the other day how long it's been, and I had to look it up, and I was shocked to discover that we met 7 years ago. And that was December 9th, because I had written down psychic Manhattan Beach. That was you, obviously. Right. And I didn't know the difference between a medium and a psychic and a medium. But wow. And we went to the Mexican restaurant. That was our first encounter, believe it or not. Yeah, I had ponchos written down there. Anyway, and here we are, and have a new book out, which is behind me. The cover of the book.
It is so cute. Where did you get that cover?
It's this angel that's playing a guitar, a lute. Mm-hmm. And from what it looks like, playing a D flat, D sharp. Anyways, and the idea was to find something.
It's so perfect. It's so perfect. So just for the listeners, just for you guys to know, since we've met since 2014, how many books have you written about our work?
Well, about our work together, we met during Hacking the Afterlife. So it really, then the 3 books, Backstage Pass to the Flip Side.
Right. And then you did your architecture. And so these are books that Richard has done that I've been a part of. It's been like 5 books since 2014. That's crazy. And 7 years. And then how many movies?
Well, documentary wise, just 2. Talking to Bill Paxton and then Hacking the Afterlife, both on Gaia.
And then on top of that, how many podcasts?
Oh my God. Well, we've been meeting every week for 7 years, which is, what do you do every week for 7 years? I don't know. A couple of times. A couple of times we've missed each other, but I mean, roughly, I can't think of anything in my life that I've been doing for 7 years every week. And what's funny about it is we've talked about this, you kind of go into a zone like a basketball player. Suddenly, in the midst of a 3-point shot, you're not thinking about the shot. And I go into some weird zone of like just asking questions that I just posted a podcast that we did in 2019, April, because I was looking for something that didn't have our usual noisy restaurant in the background. Yeah, and it was a fascinating conversation with Stephen Hawking, which is in the book Tuning into the Afterlife, an excerpt of it, because there's a musical portion of that interview. I tried to go through all our work and look for all the stuff that had to do with music and frequency and understanding what frequency is and how it works.
I just love the fact that Jimi Hendrix shows up every time. Like, it is really funny when I start listening. I'm like, he did, because I never put it together. You put all the threads together. He's done this. He's always the interviewer. Like, he is the guy over there
who shows up so often. And it was his birthday yesterday.
He was a Johnny. Yes. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Jimmy. I mean, it's so odd when especially when you're a fan of musicians, as I've been, as we all are. And in my life, I got a chance to be a music critic for Variety. So that was fun. And I got to meet some, great musicians. But ultimately, this is a whole different thing, because we're talking about their hopes and dreams and fears and what happened when they crossed over and who they were met by. And different people have spoken to us about this powerful emotion of feeling unconditional love for the first time in their lives sometimes. Yeah. They were loved by fans, but not that kind of unconditional love that you get from,
Well, I love this book. So when I said happy anniversary to you on Thanksgiving Day, And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's when I found you.
That's your anniversary. Yeah.
I heard your voice for the first time.
Well, tell people why. Why did you hear me for the first time?
Okay, so I was researching. I'll never forget. I was sitting on my stairs. I'm like, I'm gonna have about 7 hours to do of dishes because my husband, thank God, who I love, does all the cooking for many people. But I get stuck with the dishes. Now I'm not stuck. I actually love doing them. I'm like, I always download a book. I started researching. I'm like, let me look at past life regression. Let me look at, afterlife. And your name popped up. I'm like, It's a Wonderful Afterlife. And I thought, you know what? I love that movie. I am going to download this book. And then I started listening to it and you referenced Santa Monica. I'm like, Santa Monica is like a hop and a skip from where I live in Manhattan Beach. It's like literally 12 to 14 miles away. And I thought, and I started listening to it, and it's a long book. It's like 7 hours, right? 7 or 8 hours in audio.
I probably. And there's 2 books.
Listening to the cat in the background, and
right.
It was like one of the, which now it's not like that, but it was so fascinating to me. It hit a chord where I'm like, I have to meet this guy. It's kind of like, I need the new iPhone. Back then. Anyway. And so I reached out to him. And that's how this all began. But our work, I look at our work, which it would not, like, yes, I participate by being the medium, but you have done such great work in getting this out there to so many people. I have clients all over the world that check in with you on Quora. Didn't know who Quora was when you started like years ago. And now you've had over 25 million views. You've had, people all over the world, are now like putting reviews on there about me. They're like verbatim what I say.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. And I encourage it, which is, somebody called.
Bad or indifferent. I'm going to have days where I might get the interpretation incorrect. Please put it.
And that's what makes you such a unique person and unique medium, because there's so many mediums who go into this. In fact, there's a article in the New York Times today about an author. I've never heard of her, but she's in the Southland. She calls herself a spirit medium, and she's got a huge clientele of like celebrities. And so there's that kind of, if a celebrity, that kind of gives her a verification. Anyway, I don't know her work.
So do I.
I'm sure she's really good at what she does and heals people, et cetera, et cetera. But there is a description of her going into a trance and shaking and doing all that stuff, and her voice changes and that kind of thing, which is fine. That's another avenue. But the point is, what Jennifer and I have been doing, and I think successfully, is showing people that you don't need to find someone else. You need to find the person within. You really need to open your heart up to the possibility that you can talk to a loved one who's no longer on the planet.
So in this book, in your most recent book, which I love, which, by the way, you guys, I should not have to pay for the book, but I do anyways. I love it.
No, you shouldn't.
But I also ordered the hard copy, and I cannot wait to get the hard copy.
Oh, you're so funny. And I think I have a copy for you.
But that's not the point. I love it so much, and I don't like hearing myself. Anybody that knows me, I don't watch the shows that I've been on, the television shows I've been on. I don't watch any of the podcasts. This book, listening to this book, because he does have other mediums in it, is so amazing. If you listen to it with an open heart and you listen to it, watch what I want to express. Watch the thoughts that come into your mind as you're listening to this book. Because you're going to have your loved ones with you. While you listen to this book, they're going to put images in your mind. Why Richard discusses the ways to get images, or the ways to get, like, it's almost like a workbook in and of itself. Because I started listening to it a couple days,
Thanksgiving,
super excited. And my dad started giving me pictures and images when Richard was talking about a picture or an image. Like you can see your loved ones with you while you're listening to the book or while you're reading the book. It's actually very fascinating.
And for those tuning in for the first time or last time, Jennifer's dad has come through a number of times, and he's fascinating because he tells us things, new information that you could not possibly know. And the thing that I just posted today was that incident when you were a small child and you had that experience of being cooked in a car, left in a car, and somehow that affected your ability to communicate with the other side. But your dad comes through so clearly, and he has so many insightful things to say about the process and about the journey. My point is, when you have a loved one who's on the other side, because you have a connection to them, because you know their sense of humor, you know the way they laugh, and you know the kind of sides they would make, it's a wonderful thing to access them, to ask them questions about your path or questions about whatever's going on the planet.
Everyone, it's sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to interrupt.
Please do. It's fine.
It is the figure eight, like doing the triple, quadruple axis, jump in figure skating. No one could do a certain jump, and then all of a sudden, when one person does it, now everybody can do it. We have done that. That's what they compared it to in your book, because we said this in a recent chapter that I was just listening to. It's the figure skating effect.
Yeah.
It's the fact that once you make it, once someone does it once, then everybody else thinks that they can actually try it or do it, right?
Right.
Whether they do it as well as that person is, irrespective of that, doesn't matter. They actually now are unleashed to knowing that it can be done. The possibility of it can be done. And that's exactly what we have done with our podcast, with the books that you've written about this work. We are doing our best to give you guys the authority, which you've always had, but to connect your awareness to the authority that you know that you could do this, that you could talk to your loved ones, that it's not something that's only for mediums or for people that, like you, that, write about this work. It's for everyone.
Everyone.
And the frequencies, this book takes what I believe, all the essence of all your books, into this book. And it's so amazing. I'm super excited just listening to it. And what I meant before was I hate listening about myself or about I don't remember the things that I say. So
no, you don't. You do not remember.
Oh, yeah, Aretha Franklin. And she didn't. She said that I wasn't talking to her. Like, that's what I'm talking about. There's, you put it in there. We're not trying to say everything's perfect or the way that I do this work is perfect. In fact, it's interpretation. And just remember that with everything, with anything. Art is interpretation. Music is interpretation. Some people like rock music versus, opera music. Everything is interpreted.
Well, I love, the comparison for me is a little bit like watching this Get Back, that they have on Apple Plus. Peter Jackson took all that Beatle footage. And I've been reflecting on it because, of course, we haven't seen the Beatles since 1969 perform, but we never got a chance to see them intimately, chatting with each other, making songs up, trying to figure out. At one point, John Lennon says, "Where is Tucson? Is Tucson in Arizona?" And Paul McCartney says, "Yeah, that's where they filmed High Chaparral," a TV show in the 1960s. And you can just see, because they were in a hurry to finish this album for this special, they were just making stuff up as they went along. People out in the world hearing their music, reading their music, took it so seriously. They made such a huge thing out of it. What did they say today? But in essence, you can see artists creating as they go along. My comparison is when you watch someone like Jennifer, who is talking aloud about what she's seeing and thinking about it like, wait a second, is that person still on the planet? Oh, they are. Okay, then why am I seeing this person? And it becomes this interpretation of symbols and thoughts, et cetera, et cetera. So.
And because I see, and just, I just had a wonderful reading with this woman who came to my office just now, right before this podcast, right before we started doing this. And by the way, I'm super excited that we have the chance to do it on Sunday. The reason why is COVID is still around, you guys. A client actually said that he might have been,
exposed or whatever.
And so of course they couldn't come, and they did that this morning. They told me this morning, just to let you guys know, it is still around. And my clients all over the world right now, they're shutting countries down. It is a thing. Please still wear your, if nobody, I don't know how to do this without being, just be who you are within it, be responsible. But like, if you do get exposed, please let people know.
And we did.
No one's ever going to say, oh, well, then you missed out. No.
Well, a year and a half ago, we went about asking questions, to the guy who discovered the polio vaccine, Jonas Salk, somebody who would know. And we asked him just when the pandemic started, what can we do? Aside, vaccines hadn't been invented yet, but what could we do aside from the simple, obvious stuff? And he specifically talked about the elderberry bush. And it was way before, now you go into Whole Foods, you'll find elderberry everywhere, but it wasn't there because I had to track it down in a homeopathic store.
I had no idea what that even was at the time.
But it turns out that science has already proven that elderberry specifically attacks the coronal type virus, like a cold, like a common cold. So if you find yourself catching a cold, that's something you might take as a booster, the syrup. But he specifically told us, a tablespoon, because I asked, how much? Like, you drink a bottle of it? He said a tablespoon, little amount, a little aloe vera juice, and then he mentioned acai juice. Now, it's funny that Jennifer said that, and I thought to myself, is she thinking of acai juice? But no, he was saying acai. And to find it, you really have to look. It's not acai powder. There's a juice. And there's only one place I've been able to find it. Costco sells it, and so does Sambazon. So does Whole Foods. So I try to have one every day. And I feel like I'm topping myself off every day. So I'm still washing my hands, got the mask, double vax, probably getting the booster soon, all that stuff. But also, why not? A couple of shots, and it tastes great. What can I say?
Yeah.
So if this is helping anybody, if you're out there and you're thinking to yourself, is there any way I can help myself? That would be something that would be like an additive or additional thing.
Ask yourself, take it a step further. And I do this a lot. I actually ask and be prepared to get the answers. Like if you're asking yourself, do I drink too much wine? Be prepared to have them say yes. And what you do with it. But like ask what is it your body's lacking? Like right now, very strong, which is funny, is vitamin D came up very strong for me. So I have to pay attention to that. I need to go figure that. I take vitamins, but
that's it's the sun. The sun gives you vitamin D.
I don't think that I'm taking vitamin D. That's interesting.
Well, you also used to go out at the beach every morning.
Right. I still try, but yes, I don't necessarily go out to the beach.
I see. So what you're saying is allow that it's possible that your subconscious or your higher conscious or your guides
Ask
really
yourself
want to
right
put
now.
that.
Ask yourself right now, what is it that you need, Richard?
And the answer is Luana wants to come forward and talk to us. That's the answer I'm getting. She's ready to.
All right.
I mean, I know I need D and I know I need C.
But it's not what you're thinking. So remember, audience, when you ask the question, you don't have to say it out loud, but when you ask the question saying, what is it that my body needs? Mine came in very strong vitamin D. I know I'm not thinking vitamin D. I know that's not ever going to come to me because I do go out in the sun. Vitamin D.
Yeah.
I need that is something that I need to address. Okay. So I'll go on Amazon and buy it, whatever. What is it that comes to you before you finish the thought that you described?
What you mean? What vitamin I need, or
No.
or general? I can tell you, it's like a long list. Lose weight.
Tell me, but what is your subconscious telling you? Just first thought that comes in your mind.
Green tea, lots of tea.
Yeah. Okay. Then
I got it. I can go make some. I'm not going to go now, but I will make some after our podcast.
Right.
Green tea, it's got a lot of antioxidants, got a lot of stuff for you. It's good for you. Pushes things through.
I actually love chai tea. I have that every day. There's a
Actually,
coffee tray that you can get that you can put with almond milk. It tastes really amazing.
really good. Oh, cool. I'm partial to Tibetan tea in Tibet,
Shocker.
which is like a weird, it's like butter tea with salt. Oh my God, it tastes so great when
I
you're
want
in the
that.
Himalayas. Hard to find though. There's only a few people that make it. They make it at home. Anyway, speaking of making things home, Lou, did you want to bring somebody on your VIP list? I mean, it's not your usual
One
day.
last thing.
Yes, one little thing.
What is the title of your book for the audience? Will you
Tuning into the afterlife, how to stay in touch with the flip side.
I'm not just saying this. Richard does not pay me to say this. I'm letting you know firsthand. It is an amazing book. The audiobook is actually probably the most perfected audiobook that you have right now.
Well,
You did
I
an amazing job.
worked on it. Yeah, I worked on it. So, I mean, I hope it is. Listen,
It is really, it's a great audiobook.
I do burst in tears at one point. I won't tell you when, but I was reading something.
You burst into laughter about me several times.
You do make me laugh. No, but I found myself so emotionally touched and moved. Actually, it's in the part about the intermission where I sort of structured the book like a musical symphony. And there's an intermission where I talk about, but great quotes from musicians. And I got to this weird quote that I saw on Twitter from James Brolin's son, Josh. I'd met James. He's in a film that I directed. But anyway, I'm just reading what he's saying, what he wrote on Twitter. And in the middle of it, I couldn't go on. So I apologize for, well, not really. I'm not apologizing. I'm just saying it's, sometimes I'll allow, I could stop and then start over. But I think, it's just be as real as you can while you're reading.
And watch your thoughts. Write them down. Because
when you're listening, yeah.
So when I was listening, I was also multitasking in my head. I'm like, okay, I need to call my sister. I want her to come up. And then right as I said that, you're like, and 66, your dad in the highway. Like, right? I'm like, and my dad's like, ding, 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 ding. Like,
oh, that's funny.
Signs to call my sister.
That's funny because I'm reading Jennifer's part. You know what I mean? It's the transcript of our sessions. And so I'm trying to read as if I'm Jennifer and I'm talking in a different cadence. And then Richard, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, kind of silly. Well, I mean, we haven't talked to Lou in a couple of, 10 days at least. She pops up often, but does she have somebody she wants us to talk to?
It's somebody that you talked to yesterday.
All righty.
Hold on. Nat King Cole. Did you hear a song or something dealing with Nat King Cole, or did you have?
Well, let's not judge it. I mean, it's possible that I drive around listening to music all the time. One of Nat's songs might have come on.
All right. Hold on. Nat King Cole. I don't know why.
Well, very good. Let's invite Nat to take a seat. How are you, sir? What's going on? What's the latest?
He's the one that, again, sorry for my ignorance, but he was showing me Beautiful. Did he sing a song that?
Okay. No. This is interesting. You are so beautiful. You are so beautiful. So let me unpack this. This is somebody I thought about yesterday. I just got to chill. And I invited him to come and speak. He showed you Nat King Cole because Nat King Cole was a pianist, an African-American who sat behind a piano and sang. And you would not know this person, but I do. And this is what makes our collaboration so unusual. And yesterday I thought, well, yeah, I'd love to talk to him. And so he just showed up. He wrote that song, the guy that we're going to talk to. Yeah. He wrote that song, You Are So Beautiful. Okay, I'm not going to tell you his name right now.
No, don't tell me his name. But did Nat King Cole sing it?
No, but he showed you an image so that you would
Right, he
lead me
did. The
to
beautiful
this
part.
guy behind the piano.
Wow, interesting.
Okay. And for those out there who are listening in, follow along with me. All right. So I'm going to call him, I'm going to tell you that his first name. Okay.
You can just give me an initial. Doesn't matter.
Well, Billy. His first name is Billy.
Okay.
And Billy is first. I want to ask: is this you? Have I got that right?
Yes. It was
Okay.
somebody I talked to yesterday.
Very, very good.
This is my Billy.
Billy, I want to ask you about your life. So
He just showed me it was fast. It was
fast.
It was fast. Like he was running 1,000,000 miles a minute without doing that. But yeah.
Okay, very good. And please tell us who was there to greet you when you crossed over.
Did he play drums, Paul? I know you mentioned piano, but did he play drums? This Willie?
No, but here's what I want to ask him. Who was there to greet you when you crossed over?
His dad.
His dad. And was that a happy reunion, or what was that like for you?
Confused.
You didn't know where you were, or you didn't know what he was doing there?
We didn't get along.
Okay. And were you able to bypass that and realize that you guys had
absolutely within seconds.
Within seconds.
Yeah.
Very good. I know I want to ask you some questions about your life. Well, let's talk about the flip side first. So can you point to, Jennifer, people that are in our class that
Prince?
No, people that you worked with. Let me just say that Prince, of course, is here in our class, but people that you worked with in your life, people you played with.
He just showed me the guy that Sammy Davis Jr., I think, but I know that he didn't sing, so I have no idea what that means.
Well, he would certainly want to say hello to Sammy, but there is a particular person that I worked with. I'll just say his name, Ray Charles. And so, Billy, I want to know what it was like when you saw Ray Charles.
Okay, so I get confused, and I'm really sorry about Ray Charles and Sammy Davis Jr. But
that's all right. And the audience, I want you to know I'm not leading, Jennifer, but I am, because we've been doing this for so long, 7 years.
Believe me, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's just shorthand. But this is, she doesn't know who Billy is. Let's just put it that way. But I do. And I want to know what your reaction was to seeing Ray Charles.
Love. Like this enormous amount of love, like as if they were together here. It was I'm not saying that they were, but he's just showing me just so much.
No, I understand. You're saying even more.
Everywhere.
But what were you trying to say? That it felt more intimate than just, is that what you're saying? It was beyond love.
Way beyond love. Like something that words cannot describe.
Okay. And so, well, and what was Ray's reaction to seeing you, Billy?
Shit. What got you up here? Like, shit, what got you up here? Like, you were here too soon, kind of thing, but you had an amazing life.
But here's what I want to ask you. Somebody that's still on the planet, a musician named Eric, was at your bedside, not when you passed, but before you passed. And I just read the other day how he had come and tried to take care of you and like combed your hair. Were you aware of that?
Outside looking in, yes.
And what would you like to say to that fella named Eric?
We're not talking about Clapton, correct?
We are.
Because that's normal. He kept on saying Eric Clapton. I'm like, come on. Eric was by your bed?
No, that was who went to his bedside and combed his hair.
I do not mean to diminish it. I just, there's 1,000.
Well, no, I'm not trying to, as you know, I'm not trying to lead you, but Eric was by your bedside. What do you want to say to Eric? That's my question.
Thank you. He encouraged him to go.
Interesting. I heard that he kissed you on the cheek, or he would brush your hair.
He did. He held my hand.
All right. So Billy, let's talk about your life. I'm going to start with the worst part of your life. When you were a child, would you want to show to Jennifer what happened to you as a child?
Was he an orphan?
I
Or
don't
like,
know if he was an orphan, but there were some events that happened to him. If
okay.
you want to talk about it,
All right. So I got either burning or did he have anything with burns at all? Or
that's a possibility. There was abuse. It was physical and sexual abuse. That kind of child abuse.
yeah. Okay.
And then Billy, she still doesn't know who you are, so we can talk about this.
Mm-mm.
Then a little bit, and then later in life, you had a preference towards men.
Yes, he said it. Well, that was the whole thing with Ray. Like for me,
It was the love with Ray. Like had a love
of his life.
for
Like
Ray.
that was something like the love of his life. Words cannot express. I don't know.
So, well, you don't know, but this person was brought into Ray's band when he was a teenager, and played. And he was such a good player that Ray made him like part of his band. I mean, it's unbelievable. He stopped playing the instrument that he used to play to let Billy play it. So what was that like? Because you seem like an effervescent kind of person. You seem so happy. I just saw a clip of you the other day dancing.
So Ray saw in him what he like. Ray saw in himself.
Interesting. Of course, Ray couldn't really see him, but he could hear him.
Well, he's the one with the glasses, right?
Well, it's right. And
No,
Ray will tell you. No, he was.
I don't know.
Well, Ray was, of course. I mean, Ray was sighted when he was a baby, lost his sight. He worked in my film Limit Up, and so listen. I know Ray pretty well. You forget that we've talked to Ray a number of times. We talked to Ray about his relationship with
I
Quincy.
am so sorry because I only think of some of the
Well, Roy Orbison was a guy who was sighted and wore dark sunglasses, but I'm just teasing because of course
he showed me the big glasses, but I'm like, no, you're not Stevie Wonder.
But the idea that he saw in Billy what he was, and that's exactly right, because Billy was an effervescent, an incredible dancer and singer and player from an early age. But he was also in the closet most of his life. And was there a one love of your life, or besides Ray, or were there other people or somebody you want to mention?
It was somebody else. Did he have a sister?
I don't know. Why?
Give me a second. I'm just gonna say it. I can't judge it, as you've taught me. It was like his sister's husband, or somebody that's like his sister. It's her husband that it was. That he
had a love affair with, or a love relationship with. It's allowed on the planet. People are bisexual, and some people are really open about it. We don't know. I don't know. But, the reason I'm asking is not to out Billy any more than Billy's out. I mean, he was outed by a famous rock musician who in his autobiography mentioned.
Okay, are you talking about either Elton John or Rhapsody, or the other? Who was the other person that?
No, Keith Richards, the guitarist of the Rolling Stones. In his autobiography, he outed Billy by saying, after he had passed, by saying that he was a closeted man. But it's so irrelevant as for me even to mention it. I only mentioned
I was pretty much out there.
But okay, so that's what he's saying. He was pretty much out there. But I'm just saying, if you had a love of your life other than, or if there was a love of your life besides whatever your journey was, someone you really connected to that you felt like you knew from previous lifetimes.
I keep getting something about his sister and something about his friend, or
about her, his friend, or her boyfriend.
You're gonna have to research it. You're gonna have to research it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it could have been, sister can also mean best friend.
And it could have been something, like early on, like his first or something.
Like his first. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Of course. But that's not what I want to talk to you about, Billy.
I know.
I want to talk to you about, so there's probably 4 or 5 solos that I'm aware of that you performed in different records of, the history of music. And they're all like completely mind blowing. And when I finally realized that it was you It was only you. You were the one playing with all these different bands. You had all these bands that you played with. But I want you to put in Jennifer's mind the band that I saw you in yesterday when I was watching something.
Oh, then that was, I believe, was the Beatles.
Okay. And so why are you seeing the Beatles?
I don't know, because I saw it on a thread in Facebook. But
okay, so you're saying it was it was the Beatles, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that is correct.
Okay.
So you haven't seen Get Back, or have you? You haven't. Okay.
Oh,
You don't know that John.
I don't even know if Billy's in it. I just saw the Beatles. I have no idea if Billy
and
was
you
like
don't know that when. All right, so when Billy showed up in a session, John said, "Oh, you're now a Beatle. You're the fifth Beatle." Basically invited Billy to come in. But hold on, Billy, you hadn't seen these fellas for about maybe how many years? 5 years? 6 years?
Hold on. They're putting in my mind that song. John Lennon's song. You know which one I'm talking about.
Well, Billy did the solo on Get Back, which is the name of the movie. And when he played that solo and Get Back, everybody in the room went, "Oh my God, he's here." It's like, no, we've talked to Little Richard, who you used to tour with. You were the keyboard player for Little Richard, Billy. And I want you to tell Jennifer what that was like. What was it like working with Little Richard? We've talked to him, former dishwasher from Macon, Georgia. What was it like working with Little Richard?
All the senses heightened all at once at all times.
That's excellent. And when you toured with Little Richard, that's when the Beatles met you. And that had to be in the early 60s. Little Richard was a headliner. The Beatles were like the B group. So they looked up to you. Is that correct?
Yeah. Hold on. They're still giving me different songs. I'm so sorry.
I'll let you know the songs in a minute because it's okay.
What is one of the most famous Beatles songs?
Listen, there's so many of them. I don't want to go down that path. Okay.
Which one is that?
Well, those aren't Billy's songs.
I know they're not, but they're singing in them. I'm still.
All right. Like, so, but I understand. But let's turn our attention to John and George, two guys who knew Billy. So, what was it like to see John?
But he was saying that how instrumental, so because of those two, what that did for his career, like all the other things that took off. So if there were lights, he showed me there were lights. John Lennon, I'm sorry, which was the other Beatle? Sorry.
George Harrison.
George. I've talked to George. I know. Stop it, George. Hold on. That was with Dreamweaver, the guy that wrote Dreamweaver, because I read the guy that wrote Dreamweaver.
I know, yeah, you did say George that. And he knows George. That's
anyway, right. They always show me all the times that I've talked to him.
But I just want to point this out because it's true that when John brought Billy into the Beatles, after knowing him when they toured with him with Little Richard, it changed Billy's life. It led directly to that song, "You Are So Beautiful."
Okay, so when still I'm confused by this, but I totally understand it. What was fascinating to me was seeing all the lights, the matriculating lights, like all of the lights that went up and lit the sky of what Billy ended up doing because of them, like you said.
And this would have been a perfect chapter to finish the book, Tuning into the Afterlife. Of course, being the author, I can always put this in as the final chapter afterwards.
No, because there's going to be 3 more books. There's going to be 2 more books about frequencies, because frequencies with art, we're going to go.
Oh, you did say that. Okay, so Billy,
there's
I'm going to tell you his last name. You're not going to know who Billy Preston is, but Billy Preston is the name of this fella. Okay. And I'm just telling you, if you do some research, you'll find out that Billy Preston was one of the most instrumental, pun intended, artists of our era, because he played with the Rolling Stones, he played with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, he played with everybody, and his solos are so memorable that I know them note for note. When I play with bands, I think of Billy. I think to myself, how did he make that sound? How do I roll that Hammond B3? So, and when
Okay,
so
hold on.
go ahead.
Sorry, he just showed me something very interesting, which I find interesting. So
Please.
they're just for the record, a lot of mediums, the males are gay. And what he showed me was how he was able, it was so fascinating. He showed me being a channel. He was able to get music and frequencies. Like he is a medium, like I'm a medium. You know, it's true. There's a lot of men that are mediums and it's because, and this is what he brought to me, which is so fascinating. When you are in tune with the universe, you don't see color. You don't see like you don't fall in love with someone because they're male or female. You fall in love with them because of who they are. And I think a lot of mediums, because we do feel that way. We fall in love with who people are, not because of their gender or race or whatever, because we're told what to do. Clearly, we're not, if we were told what to do, we wouldn't be mediums. That being said, it was interesting that he showed me because of how he he enjoyed life, but he was able to love all types of music, right? Just like you said, which is
That's
rare.
right. Gospel music, very powerful in his career.
He didn't have any like he used discernment of people that were around him, but he loved everything and everyone. So again, back to the point. Hold on. I know. Hold on. Nice to meet you. Mike, nice to meet you, Mr. Preston. Sorry, didn't know who you were. Hold on. Wow. He showed me colors and then frequencies, and then everything has a way of being silenced, but silence is where you find everything. You know, it goes back to meditation. You find you find everything in silence. When you silence your mind, then everything can be given to you. We've heard this 1,000 times, but the way that he showed me was like artwork, like as if the second that I decided to be still, I had the most prolific artwork being shown to me coming into my mind.
Wow.
And if we could look at that by taking it, because we can sit there and go push things forward that we feel are exactly how, like, if I tried to focus on my work, I would not be a good medium. I have to go and make sure that I'm not focused in order to get the right information. And they're more than happy to tell me, stop it.
Right. So, all right. Well, I love that, Billy. I appreciate that. I would be less than a good interviewer if I didn't ask you about some mundane things, like the last years of your life. I know you had some trouble with substance abuse and money issues and stuff like that. Was that part of your journey, or was that as a result of the hard partying and hard living?
I said, if you would have come out and have been who you were, gay and flamboyant or whatever, would that been okay? And he said, no. I'm like,
not in his era, no.
Well, I don't know the eras even, but he said, no, it wouldn't have been
60s,
okay.
yeah.
He said, my advice to anyone is to come out as early as you can, so that way you can get over the shit that is put upon you. He goes, it was way too late for me to come out and then think everything would be okay, because that would have been just the nails in the coffin for me.
Yeah.
Goes, but the whole reason a lot of people that use drugs are running away from themselves because they're not who they are.
So that was what was happening in the last years of your life?
No, he just liked it. But hold on. Oh, he was in pain too. He had an accident, his back.
Oh.
I don't know when, but a car accident or a fall that started him on that.
Down that path, painkillers.
He also wanted to die 5 years before he did.
Okay. Well, so now tell us so you said what it was like running into John and how John was instrumental in changing your life and career. What about George?
George changed my spirituality.
Tell us about that.
He told me without telling me it was okay to be who I am. And that's how I flourished with music. He loved me for who I was without any predication or without anything telling me how to, like, okay, show me, say Sorry, say that again. George showed me that I was perfect just the way I was.
Is there anything you want to say to George's family or John's family? People that are
Julian.
Julian.
He loves Julian. Hold on. That's very sweet. And I know that the white feather comes from, it was interesting because I was listening to the book. I was listening to the book, your book, and I heard about which I don't remember. So it's like listening to it for the first time, which I love. The white feather and the darker feathers that you actually sent Julian a message saying, hey, what is his name with the
Paul Allen? Yeah, we got the message from Paul Allen that because he was friends with Julian that he should also look for black feathers because his dad had said look for white feathers.
And Julian said that he was finding a lot of dark feather. He was finding darker feathers. He confirmed it. So Billy's saying that I love Julian, and there's something with hummingbirds with Julian as well.
Cool.
Blue. There's something with blue and there's something with hummingbirds. So that's something that you need to tell him.
Okay. Makes me think of I think it's also a guitar
Probably.
type label, ukulele, hummingbird. I don't know. But still.
Ukuleles are like the number one guitars up there. And I don't think ukulele is a guitar, but it's like the number one thing up there.
No, it is a guitar, but we talked about that. It's only 4 strings and only a few chords. So
I don't get it.
Well, no, it's easier to construct with your mind. If you want to play an instrument, you can build the whole thing. It's only 4 strings. 6 strings or a sitar. Imagine what it's like for Ravi Shankar to like build an entire.
Well, if I want to take guitar, I'm going to go talk to Eddie Van Halen. Because from where I'm sitting, he's a god, apparently.
Well, he's come through a few times and talked about that he's still the best player.
Still the best player. He still comes in.
I love that.
He's mentioning the Who. He just showed me the main character, the main guy from the Who.
Pete Townsend, yeah.
Pete Townsend. He was also very good. Did he play guitar? I don't know.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's funny. But listen.
And then
Billy,
Neil Peart just showed up.
Sorry, who did?
Neil Peart from Rush.
Okay, very good. I don't want to give Billy Preston the bum's rush.
That's very funny.
Other musicians coming on stage. You guys all have to sit back because Billy's in the center spotlight.
Billy's in the center spotlight for all the things that we're talking about and trying to convey.
And so, Billy, what do you want to tell people tuning in who are?
He said happy anniversary. He's happy we're together. He's happy that they pushed me to like call you and have you go. I'll never forget. I was actually at my friend Michelle's house when I talked to you for the first time, and I was so nervous. And you're like, I really don't work with mediums, and I don't really care what
Yeah, media it's not my cup of tea, but we appreciate that. You seem like a nice person. Well, but also I just want to say, Billy, it is unusual because yesterday I was watching Get Back. And so anybody tuning in, if they watch Get Back, they'll see it. When you arrived in the room, it occurred to me that these guys had not seen you since Hamburg. They had not seen you since they were just young punks, trying to be a band. And Little Richard was like rock and roll, and how they admired him so much. Paul used to imitate Richard's voice, the way he sang, that screaming thing.
And it wasn't too hard.
But I also thought, but they must have really admired Billy the same way. So it was like magic had entered the room. And John, do you want to talk about that? You want to just briefly? I mean, I don't know what you were doing that we could interrupt you, but what was it like for you to see Billy when he walked in the room?
It was synthetic, he says. It was it's like adding new energy to old energy, or old energy to new energy to calm it down. It was probably that way, he says.
And Jennifer has not seen the film, so she doesn't know that this is.
All I was shown was what I saw on Facebook, how I saw the Beatles, and I'm like,
and Billy's not in the Facebook thing, but
and I also said, I'm like, wow, those look like great actors. They almost look like them.
But you don't know that this is what they're talking about in the film, that when Billy Preston arrived, the band had been fractious and not communicating. and not being able to make music. But when he walked in the room, everything changed. When he sat down and played a lick for Get Back, he was right in the pocket. He knew exactly what to play. And the whole band changed, like literally on camera. And they were all, George was excited. They were all so excited.
That's so funny because he's like, it was synthesizing. I don't even know what I know what that term means, but he said,
well, it's a very clever turn of phrase there, because a synthesizer would be like a keyboard, but synthesizing would be putting everything together at the same time. I'm giving you credit, John, for being a wordsmith and a master. Billy, was it George?
Clearly, you know, I didn't come up with that.
Well, Billy, did George, was that who ran into you? Was George the one who roped you into coming in to sit in with the Beatles?
Yeah.
So he's the key. He's the culprit who changed your life.
It wasn't John. John was the background noise of wanting me there, but it was George saying, just follow your gut, follow your heart. George said, we needed you. We need your energy. So that was the whole energy, which I thought was interesting. He's like, Billy brought new energy to old energy and synthesized it and brought it back to a whole different awareness.
And what's so unusual is that the name of the album and the name of the movie is they were trying to get back to who they were when they first were a band playing everywhere.
I win.
But that idea of, you know, somebody pointed out, they were trying to plan a concert, and you know, how many people could see him? 60,000. It didn't matter. They weren't allowed to perform live because too many people would show up. It was just crazy. People were crazy. So this was like their last concert together, and Billy was instrumental, pun intended, in making that happen and making them be focused and playing on the rooftop with them.
Which U2 was just brought to my attention. They did the same thing in one of their videos. The Streets Have No Name, which is also a reference to heaven.
That's where you go. Or Vegas, one of the two.
No.
So
I'm
Billy,
going to Vegas next week, by the way, so I won't be here on Thursday.
Oh my gosh, I was supposed to go a couple days ago. I just didn't.
For football.
Oh, well, that'll be fun. Well, what can I say other than what a thrill to have Billy Preston stop by, to think of him the other day and to think, oh, he would be a wonderful person to talk to.
That song, You Are So Beautiful.
He wrote that song. He co-wrote it, I think, with Diane Warren, possibly. I think so. And Joe Cocker, of course. And Joe, I've met. Joe, have you seen Joe since you were back there, Billy?
Several times.
What's that like? What was that like to run into Joe?
Pain in my ass. So.
He a acerbic? Is that what you mean? He was kind of sarcastic or funny or what?
All of it. Yeah.
All of it. Oh, that's really cool.
See, this is great material for your second book.
Very true. And you know, Joe, we didn't interview you before, out of respect for my friend who played in your band. But we will in the next book, for sure.
We also have to have a pet book I'm getting too, with Hira as
a pet book. You like that? Okay. You know, that's a hilarious idea, but it's really a great idea.
And you need to put on Quora. I would love to put a workbook together with you, or have you do it.
What do you mean? Like but we have that workbook in the Backstage Pass to the Flip Side.
I know, but I think that there's another workbook for this one on how to read this book, because you can open it into any page and just see what we're referencing, whether it's about, because there's themes throughout this whole book. I don't know.
No, I think you're right. I think the workbook is.
What I want to do is have a forum with you where we go online and then we take questions within the book about, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's hilarious because, of course, when I'm with you anywhere, people want to talk to their loved ones through you. And I'm there going, well, wait, don't you want to?
Let's just do that at the end. We'll do a half and half. That's fine.
How lovely. That would be great. A cruise ship.
We need to do that for 2023 because,
right? A cruise ship with Jennifer and Richard.
There's four more variants,
And
huge
music.
variants there's four more huge variants that I keep seeing that are going to come out. I don't know why, but
Okay, lovely.
we're going to be okay. We just are going to know how to deal with it.
Well, anyway, so Billy, Mr. Preston, what else would you like to say? I mean, I think it's fascinating that Eric Clapton came to see you, and
There's one, two. I think it's fascinating that they showed me Eric Clapton, but I fought it.
but also, Eric's been getting a lot of grief recently because he's been saying he didn't want his fans, vaccinated. And then they started digging up, and at one point he had some kind of a racist rant that he did in his worst drug phase, but he was there kissing Billy Preston's forehead and combing his hair. The point being, he didn't see color, but that's why I asked if he had any message for Eric.
He sees Eric. Like,
he sees it.
Tell Eric I see him. I love you, brother.
That's beautiful.
And there's like a pinky swear that they're helping each other from the other side, that Eric knows he's helping him.
That's great. And and do you help other musicians?
What? Hold on. This is so weird. And I know Billie Eilish. And
well, she's got synesthesia. So
I read about that. I love that.
And her dad and her brother. So they've all got altered filters.
Well, everybody comes to me. I have to say, I can feel everybody's. How do I say this without sounding?
Well, you see people in that kind of third dimension or fourth dimension, or fifth dimension, whatever that is. And she does too. Billie looks at people and sees them in a certain dimensional way, as she mentioned about Jimmy Fallon. Anyway, yeah, what a fantastic that documentary, by the way, if you get a chance to see it. Oh my gosh, it's really good. But Billie Eilish? No, Billie Eilish.
I did see that.
I couldn't believe it. Really fascinating. Yeah, she's great. But also, you guys, I know I don't have you for too long, but get back. You guys want to be able to see that film. That's mind bending.
Beatles film.
Yeah.
I almost don't want to see it because I feel like we have a lot more interviews that are coming too with that. The Beatles film.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to know.
Oh, you feel like there's more material that we're going to cover that's within the film. That's possible. I mean, whatever. Well, I mean, it's wonderful. We talked to George. It's weird because, I'm watching the movie. Of course, I had my opinion of, who these people were, and I'm seeing them in full dimensional, seeing George, the way he's so tender with his friends and also creative and listening, the way he listens, fascinating. And John, so funny and lighthearted, and Paul, so
that's how they are. I didn't know that, but that's how they are.
Brilliantly talented. And Ringo, I mean, it's ridiculous. He has to wait for hours, but he's so present when they need him to play. And he's so sort of like lighthearted. It's such an unusual mix of humans and how they ever found each other. It's mind bending. But the film really shows that they pulled right outside of time, these timeless moments between friends creating music. It's really a testament to them. And Billy, who is now the fifth Beatle, according to John.
Synthesizer.
The synthesizer.
Very so good. May we all be synthesizers in our own worlds, right?
True. How long do I have you for, darling?
A minute.
One more minute. All right.
No, I have to go right now.
I know you do. That's why I'm looking at the clock. Billy, thank you for stopping by. Jennifer, we love you. Happy anniversary.
I love you.
I love you.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
So grateful you're in my life. This book, I'm not just saying this, you guys. Get this book. Please get this book. It answers so many questions about how to talk to the afterlife, what it means, at the expense of laughing at me, I'm sure. You really did a masterpiece. And I promise you, like, he just told me the night before Thanksgiving, I'm like, it's our anniversary tomorrow. He's like, I just dropped the book. I downloaded it then. I've been listening to it ever since. I'll be listening to it tonight when I'm decorating my Christmas tree.
Wow.
It truly is. And again, I'm not just saying this because Richard, but if it helps me, and I'm a medium, you could only imagine what it could do for someone that isn't a medium or someone that just wants to see what's out there. We are doing those quadruple jumps as figure skating for this type of work. Everyone now can tap in. Everyone can. You just have to believe it, right?
Wow.
That's 99% of what it is believing in it. Because if you don't believe you can do something, then you won't. If you could, obviously, if you're 4'2" and you want to play basketball in the NBA, you might not have a chance. But if you have something that you are thinking about, that you really want to get your purpose out there, start talking to the other side. They are going to help you with your purpose. I promise you.
Beautifully said. Thank you,
right.
Jennifer. Thank you, Billy Preston. Thank you, the rest of the folks that we talked to today. We love you.
Thank you very much.
All right, to the next 7 years.
To the next 7 years.
This has been Hacking the Afterlife podcast with Jennifer Shaffer. For more information, jennifershaffer.com, martinizone.com, or richmartini.com. Hacking the Afterlife documentary is available on Gaia.com via Amazon Prime.